All right. Well, I woke up this morning and I had a very eventful morning, a very important meeting, maybe with regards to this podcast. We'll keep you posted on that. And then I turned to Twitter or X, however you want to say it, and I see Jim Walden, who's an independent, challenging Mayor Adams to a debate in the independent primary. Now, I was thinking to myself, wait a minute. Did Eric Adams really change parties to independent from Democrat? Sure enough, the announcement came down this morning that Mayor Adams has completed his switch from the Democratic Party to now the independent line, where he will be challenged by Jim Walden. And more so, he gives the keys to the city virtually to Governor Andrew Cuomo. And, everybody talk about how President Trump becoming a president again, number 47, was the greatest political comeback of all time. I would say if Cuomo, who should get the Democratic primary, does indeed get it over Curtis Sliwa, who says he has a lead over both Cuomo and Adams in his polling. If Cuomo beats everybody and becomes the mayor of New York, we'll have seen back-to-back political comebacks in this city. And I almost can't believe it, because here's a guy who made $1 million off a book of how he, quote unquote, led the city through the pandemic. Meanwhile, he put nursing patients with COVID, with non-COVID, causing more death. It's all a mess. And 5 years later, he could become the mayor of New York. It's a political comeback. It's astonishing. And I do feel like Mayor Adams has truly committed a bit of political suicide. Now, I could be wrong. He could win as an independent, but that's barely done, rarely done in the city, if ever. And so I wanted to find out why. And Politico today is saying he needed some time after the federal charges were dropped yesterday to, what do they say here? To recover. And I guess he felt the Democratic Party wouldn't help him recover because they're the ones that put him on fire and on trial to begin with. But in all seriousness, don't you think Mayor Adams going independent makes it Cuomo's, race to lose here in New York City? This is the biggest story in New York in a little while. And besides the mayor's charges being dropped and him being indicted to begin with, this is the next step. And I hope he's put a lot of thought into it. I hope he's not running away from this part, the Democratic Party. And also, I think it shows the Democratic Party is in chaos. When you are indicting your own mayor and investigating your own mayor, and I say your own because the Democratic Party's DOJ did this, for simply him calling out the lack of effort to combat the migrant crisis, instead of focusing on that, you go and turn your watchdogs and your DOJ on him. That shows the Democratic Party is in chaos. This is an example of how chaotic the Democratic Party is. Your mayor doesn't even want to be part of your party now. The New York City mayor, who's typically blue, doesn't even want to be part of the Democratic Party. If that's not a wake-up call, if Trump winning wasn't a wake-up call, if Adams moving to the independent line just because he thinks he can get a better shot and because he doesn't want to be affiliated with the Democrats anymore, that says a lot, doesn't it? So I couldn't just put this on audio. I had to talk about it because I'm fired up. We are on the verge of having my sixth president in my lifetime, mayor in my lifetime, I should say. Sixth. Dinkins was mayor when I was born. Then it went to Giuliani. Then, of course, Giuliani has a couple of terms. Then Mayor Bloomberg won. Then de Blasio. Then Adams. And now I believe we're going to have another mayor. I don't see how Mayor Adams can win as an independent. I just don't see it. Do you? Email me, alex@alexnyc.com. alex@alexnyc.com. And as I mentioned on my Instagram and Twitter, I'm no political strategist, But I have to believe that this is Cuomo's race to lose. I have to believe that. And I don't know. Maybe Trump's going to endorse Adams for mayor, but then you're going against Curtis, which will be interesting too. But see, Trump found in Adams an ally because they both were pissed off about the Democrat lack of effort to combat the immigration crisis. That's where they found it. And they both probably relate because they're both been persecuted by Biden's DOJ. There's no doubt about that. And by Trump's election, it wiped out 2 federal cases, the one against Trump and the one against Adams. And there is a simpatico, a connection, a synchronicity there. There's no doubt about it. And I still believe there was some kind of quid pro quo, dare I say that word. But how is it Adams doesn't act on the migrant crisis as hardcore until Trump gets elected and drops the charges? Was he waiting for that to finally act on behalf of New Yorkers? Yeah, I have some concerns about the Mayor Adams term. But I also think he should have just stuck in it as a Democrat. If he truly wanted to win the mayor of New York, he should have stuck in the Democratic Party. Because that's the only way he could win. I don't see him winning as an independent. And now you're giving the keys, most likely, to a guy who had to resign in disgrace as governor. And now he's coming back on the scene and possibly will be the mayor of New York. See, does Adams really want the job? That's my question today on the One Leg Up Network. Because him moving to the independent party just gave Andrew Cuomo a leg up in the NYC mayoral election. It really did. And I'm sure we could all see it. But someone had to say it. This is not, it's not good for the mayor currently in power. It's almost like Biden dropping out of the race entirely when he did. But it feels like that moment again, this time in New York. And Biden dropping out, just like Adams moving to the independent, will give way to another political comeback. And we do love the comeback kid sometimes, but Cuomo just not handle that pandemic well. And I hope in every debate this year, they hold his feet to the fire on that. Because he could have opened this up even more in the summer of 2020. He didn't have to do press conferences day after day, and they were helpful at times, but then they got too much. He won an Emmy for that. He made millions off that decision to put sick COVID patients into nursing homes, blaming the Trump directives. But we'll have to see. And is this why Andrew Cuomo got in the race? Because he knew down the road he could see. Remember, he was Attorney General. He could see the law. He could see charges being dropped way before any of us. He thinks like a lawyer still. So did he get involved in the race because he knew once the charges were officially dropped, this was going to happen? And I have to say, I think that's the case. Because while that case is closed, there's no doubt that he thought Adams would switch parties. That's why he jumped it. If it weren't that way, he wouldn't have run against a friend, a fellow party incumbent, someone who's led New York City. I don't think he would have touched this. But I think he knew in the back of his mind, if the charges are dropped and Adams were floating the idea of going independent or another party in general, he would take advantage of that. And now, instead of digging his heels in and truly wanting to win re-election, Mayor Adams, as I said earlier, has just given one leg up to Andrew Cuomo for yet the second biggest political comeback in as many years. That's it for now. I'm Alex Garrett, One Leg Up Network, and we'll talk to you soon. Alex at AlexGNYC is my email if you want to reach me.